Panel, ladies and gentlemen, we have another fantastic panel that's going to have an unplugged debate on reset, the strategy with AI for scale, differentiation, and innovation. Let me introduce to you what the panel will be in detail. Nearly 85% of Fortune 1000 CXOs believe AI will allow their enterprises to obtain or sustain scale, differentiation, and innovation in the marketplace. Contrastingly, just 1 in the 5 enterprises have incorporated AI in the organization, and less than 15% of enterprises have an AI strategy. Now, how do CXOs and senior leaders look at retriggering and resetting the AI strategy for their enterprise? Anshu and Vidya, 2 seasoned leaders, will dwell upon the global conundrum of pandemic-laden market outlook and the need for traditional and new age enterprises to reset the strategy with AI for scale, differentiation, and innovation. An intense debate you just cannot afford to miss. But before I bring on the topic itself, let me introduce to you my speakers here, the 2 lovely ladies here. Let me introduce you first. Anshu Sharma-Raja, the CIO, Consumer, Private and Business Banking, Standard Chartered Bank. Anshu is a seasoned and progressive technology leader with over 23 years of expertise with premium investment banks and technology firms, including Goldman Sachs, AIG, developing product solutions and leading global strategic transformational programs. She co-authored a white paper along with Manipal Global Education to develop custom education programs to skill and reskill young talent towards digital technologies. So please welcome Anshu Sharma-Raja. And also joining alongside her is Technology Director at Tesco, Vidya Lakshman. Now, Vidya spearheads Tesco's constant endeavor to stay ahead of the retail technology solutions curve and is both on the Tesco Bengaluru board and the Tesco Bengaluru CSR board. A master's in computer science from Boston University, she set her on the path to becoming the CEO of ThoughtWorks before joining Tesco in 2014. Now, she's a core committee member in industry bodies like NASSCOM, CII, Grace Hopper, Anita Borg Institute, and Women Leadership Forums. She's a member of K-Tech Innovation Hub, NASSCOM Steering Committee, member of NASSCOM Regional GCC Bangalore chapter from 2019 to 2021. So without further ado, let's welcome our second panelist right here, Vidya Lakshman. So Anshu and Vidya, please note, we will have to play on time and we will have to conclude our sessions on time. So please kindly make up for the earlier panel, if not finish your panel on time. That's my request of you. So over to you, Anshu and Vidya.
Thanks, Riaz. It's very clear that I need to do something about my introduction. It's too long. And the way you said it was brilliant. But let's get going.
Don't stop doing all the brilliant things that you keep doing, Vidya.
Thanks, Anshu. But Anshu, now let's have some fun because we need to bring it back on time, as Riaz says. So let's start doing it. So I'm just going to share something, Anshu, and let's have some fun because I was listening to all the other panels and it was amazing, very profound. Anshu, have you ever experienced this before, where within your organization, people have come to you and they've said that they've used AI?
Oh, yes. This one, absolutely. How many times we've seen this, right? These are all the jargons that get thrown in presentations and in meetings and and everybody gets hyper excited and jazzed up about this. Not just that, but even in the interviews, when people come in, they drop things on their resumes, and when you just scratch the surface, you figure out they were just Excel pros, perhaps, right? And like this, this one absolutely is hilarious and so true. So yes, absolutely. I think the true essence of AI gets lost and sometimes gets undermined by this as well, right? I have nothing against people who are excited and who are into this industry, but clearly there is so much that AI has to offer and can do. But it also gets bottled into various it gets trivialized. Honestly, let me put it this way.
So, totally agree with you, Anshu. It just shares that the story, the evolution of AI, how we started before anything got to do with automation or robotic processing. Everything was clubbed under, as you said. I heard apparently there are 200 disciples under AI, and any one tool that can be used can come under it. Anyway, good. This was how we both started off, I guess, when we started our journey. And now, if I were to go to the next slide, where are we now? And maybe you can share your journey about what you're doing within the finance world, and maybe I can share later on about
Yeah. No, true. Look, everything and anything we touch and do is machine learning, is analytics, right from, even our day-to-day lives, before even I step into the world of finance and banking, even whatever we do in our day-to-day lives, that we literally live and thrive on these recommendation engines, isn't it? Earlier, the recommendation engines were, the hearsay, or what you get, market intelligence from, by talking to people. But now the program throws it up for you, and the applications throw it up to you. But even in the finance world, look at how our consumption and our behavior patterns have changed. There is less and less, and finance is a very tricky place, because a whole business runs on trust. You trust your bank, that's why you put your money there. You trust your financial advisor to give you sound advice. Of course, there is also an element of intuition, which you really cannot put a variable around, in that sense, or tame that variable. But there also, of course, COVID has been a huge accelerator, right? There are stats that shows that just in the US alone, they have leaped forward 10 years of digital adoption, what in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks. Just the uptake of e-commerce adoption and so on. And we've seen that in India as well, especially in cities like Bangalore, where the Dunzos of the world and, everything and anything, right from, your morning flowers. I'm not even talking about those fancy bouquets that you send on birthdays, but just your morning flowers, to anything that that you wish can be delivered at your doorstep. And the service levels have really improved. So yeah, just coming back to the banking business, especially, when everybody is now in the digital space, there is no longer the need for anyone to go to branch. Forget about your day-to-day banking, but even for specialized needs and so on. Now, how do you make the differentiation? And that's where AI is scaling and AI is coming to help, right? So, if today we do tap for pay or touch to pay and so on, but imagine if you were to do smile to pay, right? If you just do smile and then, your transactions go through. Even today, when you sign certain documentation, and yeah, finance will continue to be a documentation heavy industry because of the regulations and so on. But even if you do the documentation, you need to look at what are those boxes I need to sign at and so on. Imagine if there was NLP advanced so much that it will start popping at you that, this is where you need to go, and, and perhaps using a biometric, it just catches your signature. You don't have to do that anymore. To your risk profiling, every moment that you make a transaction, either give or take, that happens online, or that happens, real time rather than online, actually real time. I think it is a big differentiator, the true use of AI. And it's no longer about, just mining sentiments and doing things post facto and, analyzing data, because the event has already happened. This is about getting ahead of the event and getting ahead of the customer, and really bringing in that, that lens onto it. So that's some of the things and truly, it is going to happen in the finance industry, that things will get to that stage.
I totally agree with you, Anshu. Now, just to share with you some kind of data in the retail world. As you know, Christmas week is the biggest week for us.
Absolutely.
And just sharing some data that was during Christmas. I'm not even talking about post-COVID, it's pre-COVID. So our online peak picking is like 49 million kg. It's picked during that week and delivered. It's 70,000 van trips. 2.3 million miles covered, which relates to 127 fully laden 747 flights, 17 Wembley stadiums filled with Tesco vans, and which saves our customers from driving around the world 450 times. So this is the kind of data and scale that we are working on.
Christmas week you're talking about.
Exactly, it's pre-COVID. And not even talking about COVID, because it has doubled. And we don't have the right data, so I didn't want to show it. So now when I bring it back, this is the scale we are talking about. And what we both are discussing is the differentiator, what is the innovation that we really need. And if you were to look at the retail world, the margins are very, very small, because Tesco is mostly a grocery market, right? So we are talking about perishable goods. So if I were to talk about just this example of AI, yes, we have come a long way. But are we really there? we are still not there, because just as this cartoon shows, it's good enough, but it's not great. To give you an example, I'm not going to talk about logistics or customers or the last mile or order forecasting, because that everybody knows that we all are using AI, and we know across the domains we have to use AI. I'll give you an example of Brexit. Brexit happened overnight, and we have something called as the commodity codes, and all these products have to be aligned to these commodity codes because we need to pay proper taxes and VAT. And just imagine, we have more than 500,000 products in place. And just to do it manually, it would have taken us a year. So this is where AI became a differentiator for us, and this is how we innovated ourselves and we were able to use. Secondly is we have something called, in Tesco, they're very anal about supplier escalations and queries. We need to resolve it within a few days. And usually we end up paying a lot of penalty because we don't. Here again, we use NLP, and I think that's the most common place where everybody is using in the chatbots.
Sure. Yeah. To have it a more conversational chat and not just
exactly.
Yeah.
So and now they're using NLP. It's not just the conversational bots that we are using.
Right.
So the one thing that I wanted to stress is currently at Tesco, what we are doing is we are using the assist model, where we are not allowing it to go into production. We are still not confident about it. So we have a human to come in between. We are using AI, but it's more on the assist side or the support side to human, not fully. So that's why I thought, I don't know, within the banking sector, are you there where you have used AI confidently, where the model has been able to train itself and go into production?
Yes, because there is, again, the banking industry particularly is very data rich again, right? But just that, of course, we have multiple layers of data, and we are very, very strictly bound by the data confidentiality, the PII aspects of data, and so on. But exactly, but again, the similarities I see is that it's a very customer centric business again, right? You have to connect. You can't. So I'll give you an example actually. This to me, and this is a product that I used from another Indian, very large bank on an insurance product, and I needed a query to be resolved or solved for me. And they have taken their AI offering to that extent, to their customer experience, to an extreme AI where you just couldn't get to a human being, and it was always either you hit a chat bot or it was an automated email, responses that you were getting. I think that, to find the right balance of what is the right mix, because, you also need a human sentiment. So I think that emotional quotient needs to come in, because these are all customer centric businesses. And I'm talking about large wealth customers. I'm talking about, our private and affluent customers as well, where, they would need an interaction, and not always, and these days of no flying, no in-person meetings, you still need to have that relationship going, and clearly, there is a video call fatigue that everybody is going through, right? So if you ask a customer, can I have a video call with you? He or she would rather have that time away from the gadgets and stuff. I think these models require now, a greater element of emotional intelligence to be built into them. So that's number one. Of course, there is a ton of data that we have, right? We have the entire transaction histories of people, their preferences, and so on. And now it's in the world of partnerships. We are in the world of partnerships where it's all, banking is a very connected sector now, right? Especially in India, you've seen how UPI has completely meshed together. So it is completely agnostic to what your underlying financial institution looks like, and you can do your payments and so on. It is that. And then the second thing is it's data security. And I was listening into the previous conversation, right? How beautifully Anshuma ended it, saying that all this fancy stuff is great, but guys, don't forget about cybersecurity, which is really, really another very important thing. And then if AI can also be used, and it is being used for threat intelligence. And again, the name of the game is to get ahead of anything, right? We've always been, dealing with incidents, dealing with challenges, and reacting to it. But it is about using it to get ahead of get ahead of any of these scenarios that we kind of get into.
So that's good, Anshu. Anshu, what you say. So coming to the next segment, we spoke previously where we are currently, and currently we still are not there, as we just said. We are still using the artificial narrow intelligence. And now, as you can see in this cartoon, as you know, what the Turing test is a method of inquiry in artificial intelligence for determining whether or not a computer is capable of thinking like a human being. Yeah. And here they're saying that if we can convince the examiner that you are a computer, then you get extra credit. Are we there in the future? That's where I think we're all working towards. I think it's all about artificial general intelligence. And now within Tesco, what we are looking at is how do we do something different for our customers? So as currently we have our online shopping, we have store shopping, but if we were to look at the online shopping, how can we work in such a way that a customer feels it's a store only for them? That's the future that we are looking at. The second is for our buyers. As if our buyers can make some very responsible and intelligent decisions on sourcing. If they were to know that the grapes or the crop of grapes in France was bad in a particular year, and so the wine from that year would be bad, and if we can predict and we can automate all those models, so our sourcing agent knows about it, saying that, okay, we should not be buying that wine, or the crops of olives were bad. Right. Or for our customers to know that if they were to buy this particular item now, they would get it at a cheaper rate compared to 3 months or 2 weeks later, because the cost is going to go up. I think that's where the future is, and that's where the artificial general intelligence, where it can start mimicking how a human can think, as you rightfully said, when it comes to emotional intelligence, etc. That's where we are at least working towards in the retail world. And as you said, even in the finance world, you're going with that. Now,
totally.
This is what, the way we both can laugh, the way we both can crack a joke, I guess that's where it needs to get to. And as you rightfully said, your customers currently do not want to have another video conferencing call. They rather would have a conversation face-to-face, ideally if they can. But is there anything with respect to the stretch goal that you think, do you think we are going to get there? What are your thoughts about this?
Clearly we are going to get there, right? But is it going to happen, in 6 months, in a year? Perhaps no, right? I think the whole world is really craving that human touch, right? I really wish I could see you in person and meet you in person and so on, right? And there will be also machine fatigue. Like I gave that other example that, I needed to get in touch with the bank and I had a very simple query. Perhaps I was not able to articulate it in the right words that the bot was trying to understand, and I was getting frustrated. And I wish I could have picked up the phone and spoken to somebody, but there was no opportunity or option available at all, right? So it tires you out. It tires you out. I think it is also about finding that delicate balance, of when to keep the human quotient or the emotional quotient in what weightage to allow that to seep in versus when do you switch over to completely online or a completely digital mode, and so on. This is a great example, right? It just resonates with my experience as well. But I'm hopeful, right? Look, the whole and especially in the last 2 years, just the way we all operated has changed. We always talked about digital natives who were just so fluent and just kind of comfortable. But now there are so many new acquired digital people who have joined the mix, right? I mean, I can speak for my parents, as well, who until now didn't really, even bother about, getting anything done online. But now they are also kind of picking up these skills. So if 70, 75-year-olds can do, and then there is a whole mix in between, right? There is a huge population who's now coming on board as well. So it's an exciting time. There is a huge customer segmentation, and there is a market for each one of these. So you'll have to just tune how much dose of AI you serve to each of these segments, I think. You don't want to give an overdose as well, otherwise they turn off, like I did as well with my experience with my insurance thing. But so you have to tune how much dose of AI you pass to each of these segments. right? For example, in our case, if I give you an example of Hong Kong as a market for us, it's a very interesting market because first, it's a very wealthy market, right? A lot of money from China. Residents in Hong Kong, own stuff there, and they want to be in Hong Kong. But it's a very polarized market in a demographic way because you have old, wealthy Hong Kong folks who would love to come to a branch, have a very personalized experience, be met very respectfully and so on. And then you have completely the other end of the spectrum, the new young millennials who don't even want to carry a wallet. So they don't even want an ATM card or a debit card or a credit card. They want everything, even to draw cash. And, whenever if at all they need to, they don't want to carry an ATM card. So you have to enable them digitally so that using the banking app, they can go to an ATM, scan the code and, get their money out. So you have to, so that's the dose, that's the dose that I'm saying, it's never going to be a one solution kind of, fits all. So you'll have to kind of really customize it for your audience. And there is a huge segmentation opportunity here.
You're absolutely right, Anshu. As Turing once said, he said that given infinite time and memory, any kind of problem can be solved algorithmically. And for the future, what we were to really see, how do we get here to such a situation? I was reading somewhere, it says computers can handle a little more than 10,000 words. So it's a few million neurons, but human brains have billions of neurons that are connected in a very intriguing and complex way. Right. So I think I couldn't agree more with you, even in the retail world. Are we going to get there immediately? No, it might take a few more decades to get to a situation where the human mind can be deciphered and read properly, even though Elon Musk is very bullish on this. And also recently, I think DeepFind from Alphabet, they were able to find the structures of the protein. So yes, as you said, currently we just need to have a fine balance, when to use AI, how do we get the human touch. I see Riaz coming back. This is the end goal. I think we both will be very popular with our kids if we manage to get here, where our kids can say that, given the pace of technology, that I propose we leave Mac to the machines and go play outside. And hopefully we will get to a stage where we could tell machines to work and we won't get out.
Right. We should keep that as a target. Yeah.
Fantastic. So thank you, Anshu. Lovely conversation. Hopefully we were able to keep on time. Riaz seems to be smiling at us. He seems to be a happy man. So that's good.
Absolutely happy. And what a lovely conversation, between the two of you. It is just that we are required to bound by the time. And that's the reason why I'll have to let you lovely ladies go with all that lovely conversation that we had. So much of knowledge coming from the two of you. God bless you. Have a best of the rest of your lives.